So welcome back to the Robson house, and this is the spring of 2024 and all the stuff that's in the garden. These are actually a really cool form of hellebores that we found at the hellebore farm up in Virginia. That's some fancy fern. We've got our lemon glow camellias have actually finished blooming. That's another camellia that bloomed. This year, Luke put spirea all along because we had some other stuff there and it just wasn't doing that well. So everything you see there, that's all spirea all the way down. And then we have new cherry trees behind the pole, and those are all lobelias. And the pampas grass is a little too early for that. And then these are called fothergilla, and they have this weird little spiky ball on them. There's something that we're just sort of trying this year. The rose garden that Luke put in, was it last year or the year before, is looking really good. These are all drift roses at the bottom and then bigger roses at the top. And these have, they have thorns, but they have some beautiful roses on them. And they've done really well. These are the red crepe myrtles that we have. We have lamb's ear that just sort of like popped up out of nowhere. We're not really entirely sure where they came from. I mean, we have them in the back, but we don't have them anywhere close there. Our magnolia trees got a little bit of height on it. It's almost 6 feet right now. And those white ones here, these are a type of loropetalum, and those are fringe flowers. And we've changed the front a little bit. And then of course we have all three of these loropetalum were basically rescue. They were not doing well at the farm they were at, so we brought them here and they've done very well. All the azaleas bloomed really well this year. This is Luke's fantastic Don Juan rose, and it's been pretty prolific this year. It's got all sorts of buds. It's growing all over. As a matter of fact, he had to hammer the trellises back in because they were growing. They had actually pulled them out of the yard. And here we have our fabulous fence. All along here, these are ladybank roses. These are our azaleas. These are actually original azaleas that we had. And then you can see in the back here, we have a camellia. That's a Christmas camellia. We have the beginnings of our older hydrangea. Right there is a pink clematis. We put those in early, not knowing how they're doing. And then all these ladybank roses we planted 2 years ago, and they have just taken over, and they are just gorgeous. They have just these little tiny flowers, but they're everywhere, and boy do they bloom great. And then of course then we have our huge azaleas. These azaleas bloom to the point where you actually can't see the leaves because we have so many flowers. We have our orange heucheras and the mahonias. Luke's had to trim a little bit of this because it grows really, really well. And we're going to be putting clematis here on this corner. And everything here has survived our winter pretty well this year. The mulch pile, that was 20 cubic yards of mulch that we got delivered. And believe it or not, that is all that's left. Luke should have that out the rest of the day. We moved the big holly that was there, and we put in a euonymus because the holly was just too big and it was too out of control. These are all of our tea olives, which a couple of years ago were tiny, and this year they are 6 feet tall, and that is cut back. Luke cut them back this weekend. And it's a false holly in the corner. All the clematises have just started. That's a hydrangea that's just started. These are some hostas that Luke just grabbed and threw in. They're doing well. And now we go to our fabulous backyard. Another fabulous azalea. All the akubas. There's 4 or 5 hydrangeas in here. These are lungwort, and they're similar to the twinkle toes, and we were really happy to find them because they've become very difficult to find. Now all of our bird baths are out. All back here are white ladybanks roses. They're the ladybanks roses, but they are a different rose. This is the Asian garden. It's finally starting to fill in. And of course we have our 3 fountains that are running. So we just put out all of the solar lamps. We have our dragon who's getting kind of obscured by one of the feather falls. And we've got a couple of new maples. A lot of this came from Garden Treasures up in Wendell. Or Wendell, I guess they call it. And I think we've got 6 Japanese maples now. And then we get into some of the shade gardens. So we're going to have more euphorbia. The euphorbia is kind of a neat little plant. It's got little itty bitty tiny leaves on it. And then we've got a whole bunch of stuff that runs along the shed. I have all my plants out in the shed now. We still have hellebores that have bloomed, and they're still holding on. All these little ground covers are called Japanese spurge. There's another firefalls grass. The storks are out. That is a new maple. Our Artemisia, since we're no longer allowed to burn stuff, is out, and that's now a planter. And the variegated euonymus are out. Some of these are our solar lights, so the whole path is lit up at night. It's really pretty. And then more Japanese maples. The entire arch is finally covered up with jasmine, and it shouldn't be long that starts to bloom. This is actually a variegated maple tree and has really pretty variegated leaves. It did really well last year, so it survived well this year. And then of course we have a second dragon, and there's a third dragon here. He also has a treasure to protect because that's their job. We have a fourth dragon. We found this up at a cute little place that has all sorts of outdoor stuff. This is our variegated garden. Virtually everything in here is variegated, including the ivy. And then there's more euphorbia there. That's one of Luke's favorite plants. This is a kind of prehistoric fern. And you can see that there's another maple tree there. Luke's still in the process of putting down more mulch back here. He had to get out all the oak leaves, and my lord, there's a lot of them. And everything's grown really well. We only had a few things that didn't grow well. These are cast iron plants. They're a test for Luke. I've never been able to grow them indoors, and supposedly, oh, they're the easiest plant. They're so hard to kill. Not for me. I've killed a whole bunch of those. You have all the trails going down. These are more Cuba, and there's another trail that goes right along there. And believe it or not, we have a whole bunch of irises come up this year, and we planted them, I don't know how many years ago, 3 years ago maybe? And they did not come up well. This is a Miss Kim lilac, which surprisingly came up. This is one of the first years it's had it. But then the piece de resistance is our snowball viburnum. It is now about 10 feet tall. All the blooms, they start out as green and they turn white. And these things are huge, absolutely huge blooms. It'll be in bloom for probably another week or so before it starts to die off. There's actually one at one of the nurseries we go to. It's 30 feet tall and about 20 some odd feet wide, and it is just fantastically gorgeous. So that's something we've been waiting to see how well it was going to do. And this little azalea, this little salmon colored one, is one that he moved from another location. It never really did that well, but seems to be doing awesome this year. More lambs and more petalums. We've had to actually cut the petalums back several times because they grow very prolific here. This hydrangea is an old-fashioned hydrangea, and hopefully it'll be blooming this year. It has not actually bloomed that well for the last 2 years. And then we have the back of the porch. We'll be getting something that vines up that way. These are more Ladybanks roses that are just covering the back, so basically you can't see the fence anymore. And one of my jasmine is still doing well. We got the remains of one of the irises. Got black petunias this year. This is a nice view of the Asian garden. Every year we're trying to add something a little bit different to it. And here's one of them, and then this is where you walk up into the house. And most of these spent the winter inside. And we've just started bringing everything outside now. I got the chairs up because I just had to wash the pollen off everything, and oh my lord, do we have a lot of pollen this year. After I came back from Maryland, I couldn't find my car at first because there was so much pollen on it, it looked yellow. And there's our second fountain. And hopefully next year we're going to look into getting this screened in. But for right now, all this gauze stuff, it really helps the mosquitoes. You can be out here even in the evening and it doesn't do anything. We have 4 Chinese fan palms. This one did not winter inside well, but the 2 smaller ones did, and then we have a third one that's actually a little bit bigger, and they're all doing really well. And these are my poor little Chinese evergreens that aren't doing great, but all of the snake plants are doing great. And here's our third little fountain. We are planning on adding another fountain since our one glass bird bath did not survive. We had it for 6 years. And that's it.